Hi, my name is Idowu Thompson. I'm the Group Head for Private Banking at First Bank Nigeria, and you're watching On the Money.
Knowledge is king. Knowledge is king. Knowledge is king. Knowledge is king. Knowledge is king.
I started my career in banking just over 20 years back. And over that period, I've had lots of experience working in diverse parts of the bank, ranging from the treasury, managing affluent, and dealing with ultra high net worth individuals. Through this journey, I'm going to run through the steps of wealth acquisition, growth, preservation, and transfer, and also speak to areas where I know will be very beneficial to you as individuals and to your families. Nigeria has officially been declared to be in a recession. And as much as this may sound as a buzzword, it's something that's felt by everyone, including people on the streets, people in the comfort of their homes. A recession simply is 2 consecutive cycles of declining GDP. That's the official definition. So for the first quarter, Nigeria dropped from about 0.36% to the second quarter, 2.06% in terms of the drop in value of the GDP. What does this mean to the everyday people? So this is generally linked with a decline in government spending, which is often on the back of reduced earnings. Why has that happened in Nigeria? The price of oil, as we all know, has dropped significantly. We've looked at an average price of about between $40 and $45 per barrel, though that has inched up quite recently. What this has meant is that there isn't as much money to be spent on projects, on development, on roads, on infrastructure. And when money is not being spent, it basically means that money does not go around. So people don't have contracts as much as they used to before. Households don't get the incomes they used to get before. In a recession, the first thing to recognize is that you need to make some lifestyle changes. The fact is that you cannot continue to spend the way you used to do before. Cash is king, like they say. The first focus would be for you to be able to pay yourself first. So no matter how little the income you're earning, you have to ensure that you do have some money saved up for the rainy day. And not only saving for the sake of savings, but you also have to ensure that you're able to invest the monies that you've saved so that the money would also grow. Quite often people have been led to take actions or take investment decisions that they've had very little knowledge about, and at the end of the day, they also get stung by it. I think within a recession, within the context of where we are right now, the right decisions need to be taken in terms of being able to work with your comfort zone. So if your expertise is in trading, then focus on trading. If your expertise is in advising, then focus on your niche and advice. So during a recession, it's not all about hardship. It's also about some opportunities evolving for different people. Home prices generally across most places has dropped between 20 and 40% estimated. It will be a good chance for people who have had or who do have the cash flow to be able to get into that market right now. Not just for the sake of buying, but also to be able to build up an income potential in terms of rental. The food industry is an area that has continued to grow. In spite of the fact that we are in a recession, people will continue to eat. It's all about being creative, it's all about being focused, and it's all about knowing where and how to chart your costs. A lot of people would complain that things are hard now. And the simple reasons for the fact that a lot of industries, a lot of businesses depend on imported materials or depend on resources that are imported. A rise or devaluation on the value of the local currency also implies a rise in costs for them. And it makes it more difficult for them to pass it on to their consumers, because consumers are also not inelastic in terms of how they respond. But again, it's not all dark because there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Yes, we would see a rise in inflation, which right now we're seeing almost about 18% in terms of that number. We would see a decline in value in the local currency. We would see a decline in revenue in terms of what the government is spending, is receiving. But at the end of the day, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. That light at the end of the tunnel is what we would consider to be a recovery. So what are the kind of things we would begin to see? increased consumer confidence, increased spending, increased government expenditure, increased construction, increased industrial activity. We begin to see those cycles, and then we would basically recognize that we are getting around the corner. But the truth be told is that we do not have to wait for that point in time. The activities and the things that would need to drive that recovery actually rests with the individuals themselves. A lot of opportunities do exist right now for you to be able to leverage. Right now, the stock market is not quite where it was 3 or 4 years back. It's also an opportunity to invest in the market and hopefully gain some capital once the market begins to recover. Pick up stocks at value. A lot of people look for dividend-paying companies to invest in. Some of these companies, regardless of what has happened in the recession, have continued to pay dividend. Maybe not at the kind of levels that they have paid before. It's also expected that as economic activity also regains ground, these same companies will be more generous in terms of their dividend payments. It's also a time for us to be creative. Like I said, it's a light at the end of the tunnel. People talk about being disruptive. Those who have made the best gains are those who have chosen to be creative and who have challenged the constraints in which they have lived in. We would like to see a lot of that happening, particularly amongst the young people. There's a lot of venture capital funding out there for people to tap into. There's a lot of government-assisted projects or funds for individuals to be able to access to. I think the greatest thing I'd like to see with the recession hopefully coming to an end is the chance for people to be free-spirited and to also try their dreams. A recession, lastly, is not something that's constrained to Nigeria. It's something that has also been experienced in different parts of the world. Job cuts, all sorts of things going on. But in the true sense of it, once we're through that cycle, what you also expect is to see a new wave of wealth. And you also expect to see a redistribution of wealth, depending on how well those opportunities have been leveraged.